How can you as a nonprofit fundraise during a recession? Hi, my name is Steven. I'm with SparkFlow. We do brand marketing for nonprofits and social enterprises. Every couple of years, there's a major crisis event in the United States or around the world that causes a recession. And inevitably, during a recession, people's budgets are a lot tighter and they give less, which affects your bottom line as a nonprofit. You get less donations. Now, some recessions are more severe than others. Currently, we're in a recession right now caused by the coronavirus quarantines. You may have noticed it directly with your nonprofit. Maybe you've had to cut back on programs. Maybe you've had to lay off staff or furlough them, or maybe take possible pay cuts. In any condition, you're struggling right now. And right now is a time when you actually need to fundraise. You need more money. But while everyone else is also financially struggling, including you, is now really the right time to ask for donations? A lot of nonprofits are wrestling with this question right now. With everybody struggling financially, would it seem tone deaf to make an appeal for donations? Would it seem insensitive at all? Well, the first thing you have to do is have an established relationship of trust. Before you even ask for money, check on your relationships with your donors. Have you been meeting their needs? Have you been engaging with them? Do you know some of your major donors on a more personal level? Before you make any kind of ask, it's important to check in with your donors to see how they're doing and kind of gauge where they're at in terms of their openness to give. When a crisis event hits, if you are a nonprofit that works directly in a sector that's impacted by that crisis, then absolutely, you should ask for donations. You should fundraise. People almost will expect that, and they're more willing and open to give because it's a very tangible need that they can meet right now. So with the coronavirus, if you work within a sector or demographic that's directly impacted by coronavirus. So, for example, whether it's health or housing or food, by all means, this is the time to ask for donations. But what if you're in a sector that's not directly impacted? You do something else, but the coronavirus itself is not affecting you, and there's nothing you could actually really do to help people fight against it. Well, that might get a little bit tricky because you can't honestly make an appeal to fight coronavirus. But it's different because it's caused a recession, which means you as a nonprofit are unable to perform your mission, carry out your work and your programs because of the coronavirus pandemic. And so you do have a legitimate reason to ask for donations. You do need to fundraise in order to keep your mission going. So in this case, since every organization, both businesses and nonprofits, are struggling, I think that donors overall aren't going to be upset that you're asking for donations if you can do it the right way. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, it's up to you when the right time to ask is. You just, once again, have to make sure you have a good relationship established with your donors. You have to get a pulse for where they're at, where they are financially, and in terms of engagement with your brand. And you have to already have some messages of empathy and connection with them prior to that ask to develop just an extra level of trust before you go ahead and make that appeal. But when you're ready to make that appeal, here are a few key points to keep in mind with your messaging. So these key messaging points are great for videos, email appeals, social media, print newsletters, and you can use them in any order that you want, but this is a good template to follow if you're going to write a messaging campaign. First, you want to empathize with your supporters. Acknowledge the current situation and how difficult it is. Acknowledge that your donors may be struggling financially or with other things. This will help you come off as less tone deaf and a little more sensitive when you're making your ask. Next, share the honest reality of where your organization is at because of the crisis. So typically as a nonprofit or any brand, you want to communicate, strength and optimism for the future, but this is the time to be blunt and honest because it's affecting you. So tell them how your funding has gone down, what you've had to do with staff, what you've had to cut back on programs possibly. Let people know the weight of the current situation and what the possible consequences are because of the situation. Next, remind people of the importance of the mission. Let them know that your mission still has to go on, that the work that you do is still important. Your donors and supporters, they believe in you. They believe in your mission. That's why they're connected with you. That's why they're your supporters. So this is a chance to remind them of why it's important and why they care. Then be clear about your strategy, both in the short term and the long term. Because you have less funds and because your donors most likely have less funds to give, this is a time more than ever to communicate how frugal and how efficient you're going to be with their money. So outline, what you're doing now to save money, outline what you're going to do in the future to save money, and also what your strategy is to still keep the work going despite the decrease in funds. This will help give donors confidence to give to you. Then, right before the ask, you want to acknowledge your donors' financial situation and give them a way out. So what I mean by that is you say that you know that this is a difficult time for all of them. And then you take it a step further and say, if you're in a difficult financial situation right now, don't give. Now, this might sound counterintuitive to an appeal for a donation, but this will actually help because you will appear and come off as a nonprofit that cares more about the supporter, that cares about the donor. And your donors will pick up on that. Even those who have the ability to give will pick up on your sensitivity and your empathy and be more likely to partner along with you. So, and then the people who aren't able to give, they're going to keep that in mind. They're not going to be guilted. But in the future, when they do have the resources, they're more likely to give to you because of that trust and that loyalty that you're establishing with them. So let people know that if they don't have the resources right now, and if they're struggling financially, that they don't have to be obligated to give at this time. Now for the actual ask. You're going to ask people to self-select. And what that means is rather than the typical blanket ask where you say, if you're able to donate, or, please give now, you're going to say something along the lines of, if you are financially stable, if you're financially secure. So you're asking people to self-select themselves, to identify themselves really as like those who aren't as impacted by the recession, who are doing pretty well. Then you say, will you step up and give to this cause? Will you fill the gap? Because you've just let them know that a lot of your other supporters are unable to give, so there is a gap that needs to be filled. So you're kind of calling them up to step up a little bit higher. You're going to ask them to give above and beyond what they would normally give, or become a monthly donor to become that reoccurring giver. And this is really important because this calls people to kind of invest more. It calls people to sacrifice more. It calls people to commit more. But if you've been developing a strong relationship with them, if you've shown your supporters that you value them, then they would be more than willing to answer that call to something higher, answer that call to engage deeper with you to support your mission. So once again, you ask them to self-select by saying, if you are financially stable right now, would you consider stepping up and giving above and beyond what you normally give, or becoming a monthly donor, and help us fill the gap so that this mission can continue? So in any kind of crisis event or recession, nonprofits tend to lean in one of two extremes. They're either very timid and very afraid to ask for donations because they think that they're going to come off as insensitive, and so they don't ask at all and miss an opportunity really to have their donors step into further commitment to really engage with them and be part of their mission. On the other extreme, there are nonprofits that are super aggressive and they're asking multiple times and they're framing everything as if it's the end of the world, like this is a do or die moment every single week. And neither of those really work all that well. The aggressive approach may work for initially a little bit, but then it really burns donors out. You really have to have a balance of just honesty in terms of where you're at, and also an audacity that's built on trust, where you can make a bold ask of someone because you've demonstrated that you care about the supporters, you care about involving them in your mission, you care about their well-being. And so when you make that ask, there's a loyalty that's already established. And the donations that come in aren't going to completely take you out of to take you into the clear. You're not going to, recoup all the losses that you've suffered from the recession. It will help you sustain your core programs a little longer, though. And another thing is it's going to help strengthen your core donor relationships. Those that do give in this recession are deepening their relationship with you even more. They're giving you their trust because you've given them your trust. And this relationship is really going to just establish a deep loyalty that's going to make these people sustaining donors for a very long time. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you're a nonprofit that's really struggling during this time of recession, I really hope that you're able to connect with your donors and call upon the donors that are a little more financially stable to really help you out, and that you're able to maintain your staff, carry on your programs without cutting back too much. Once again, I'm Steven from SparkFlow. I help nonprofits and social enterprises with brand marketing. So I know that this is a difficult time for a lot of organizations, and you're looking to cut back on costs and not spend money. So because of that, I do want to offer short little consultations, 20, 30 minutes. If you have a question about marketing your nonprofit during the recession and you want to just talk through it a little bit about it, I'm more than willing to get on a Skype or Zoom or FaceTime call to chat with you for absolutely free, because I know this is a really difficult time right now. But in the future, when you have more secure funding and you're able to spend money on marketing, I hope that this will help establish a relationship between us so that I can partner with you and help with your marketing. But if you're in a financial position right now where you have pretty stable funding and you know that this is a time where you really do need to grow your marketing, to expand your donor base, to get your donors more connected, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me at sparkflow.co. That's sparkflow.co. The link is also going to be in the description, or you can reach out to me in the comments and I'll respond to you and connect with you that way. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and all the best for your nonprofit.